All right. So if you get bounced at any point and you are having trouble to getting back in, feel free to email Christina, Christina@canopyed.com, and she can help you get back in. But welcome, everyone. The purpose of today's webinar is to walk you through some of the nuts and bolts of Canopy Tutoring. So yeah, Brooke, why don't we look at the agenda? All right, so we're going to start out with an overview of Canopy Tutoring, and then we'll take a look at the onboarding process, a tour of the tutor portal, and then talk through tutor logs, student enrollment, and pre and post tests. And then we'll end with a Q&A. And any questions that we don't get to today, we will definitely answer and send out after the webinar. So before we get started, I do want to do some introductions. So our entire staff, we're all former teachers, all lifelong educators. And so we love working with current and retired teachers tutoring students in Louisiana. I'm Elizabeth Minton, I'm the COO, and you may hear from me about payroll, and that's why you would probably be reaching out to me. So I'm going to turn it over to Brooke.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke Rhymes. I'm the program manager here at Canopy Tutoring. You will be reaching out to me throughout your onboarding process. I know I've talked to several of you already, but through the application process and the onboarding process, I will be your main point of contact. And so I'm going to pass it over to our enrollment coordinator, Haley.
Hey, everybody. I'm Haley Brasted. I'm the enrollment coordinator. We will be in communication if you ever have any issues with your tutor logs or just student enrollment in general. I'll be your contact.
Hi, I'm Christina Snoo, and I'm the operations associate. You'll hear from me regarding pre or post test.
Great, thanks everybody. So I know you all see our email addresses. I know it's nice to put some faces to names. So a little bit about Canopy Tutoring. So we were founded in 2021. We provide tutoring across the state of Louisiana, and we partner with grant programs to provide tutoring to students at no cost to families. So right now we're partnering with the Steve Carter Tutoring Program, which is a grant program. We previously had partnered with the Real Tutoring Program if you all tutored with us in previous years. I know there's a lot of names that kind of get bounced around with tutoring. And so I wanted to take a moment and kind of just like break it down for you in terms of like what pieces go where. So the Steve Carter Tutoring Program is a grant program that is funded by the Louisiana State Legislature, and it is run by the Louisiana Department of Education. So it's a program for families to receive grant funding to apply to tutoring services. So parents go in, they register their public school students for the program in the parent portal, and then they receive that grant funding that they can use with an approved provider. So Canopy Tutoring is an approved provider for the Steve Carter Tutoring Program. And so we provide the tutoring services, and then we submit all the documentation for the grant. We make sure we're in compliance with the grant so that more students can benefit from that tutoring. If you all tutored with us in the past, we previously partnered with the Real Tutoring Program, which was a different grant. And so different grants have different rules. And so if you have noticed some differences between the way that ran versus now, that's because there's just different rules with the grant. In the future, we may partner with some other grants. And so that's kind of how it is broken down. We provide the tutoring, and then those grants provide the funding for the tutoring. And I think, am I passing it to Brooke now?
I think so, yes.
All right, I'll pass it to Brooke.
All right, so today, welcome everyone, by the way, and I'm Brooke again. Today I'm going to be guiding you through the Canopy Tutoring onboarding process and demonstrating the main features of our tutor portal. So the onboarding process starts with the application, and you can see here the different requirements for different grade level bands and different subjects. So when you submit your application, you will indicate exactly which of these grade level bands and subjects that you are interested in. So that onboarding process begins with the application, which helps us to verify that each tutor meets the qualifications established by the Louisiana Department of Education. And if you need to modify or add any of these selections later, you can just reach out directly to me and I'll guide you through that process. Once your application is accepted, you'll receive an email from me directly with the links to the required training. You will join the Canopy training platform in order to complete that training. So all tutors will complete several different trainings based on their tutoring focus. The one that everyone will complete is the Steve Carter tutoring program, or Steve Carter tutor training, which goes over the program logistics and our Canopy tutoring policies. In addition, you'll also complete training for your curriculum. So this is dependent on those grade levels that you requested in your application process. After completing the training, you're going to email me to confirm, and I will provide the next steps, which includes your hiring paperwork. There are 3 steps to the hiring paperwork. That includes your Gusto, your payroll setup, your background check, and your tutor agreement. So you'll receive all of these via email. Once that hiring paperwork is complete, I will send you a welcome email. And it's important to note that we do require a completed and cleared background check before you're able to move forward in that hiring process. So you'll get that welcome email from me along with an invitation to access the tutor portal, where you can begin to process and the process of identifying and enrolling those students, and then also assisting families with the LDOE registration process. And the flyers, which I'll show you in just a moment, for family communication are also available for download in the tutor portal. So accessing the tutor portal is very easy. When you receive the invitation to the tutor portal, it will include a temporary password. To log in, you'll just click the link in the email or navigate to our website, which is just www.canopytutoring.com, and click on the current tutors sign in, which I'm actually going to show you a preview. So you can always access the link. This is what the email will look like that you receive. You notice that the temporary password is quite long. So we do recommend that once you log into the tutor portal for the first time, that you change that password. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So our website will also take you to the tutor portal. There is a button at the top right-hand corner for you to actually access that tutor portal. So now I'm going to actually switch my screen here for just a second and go directly into the tutor portal itself. So when you receive the invitation, you'll click that link and it's going to take you to the tutor portal, and you'll land on this home page. So the first thing you're going to want to do is change your password. As we mentioned, you'll click here, your initials, and then click My Profile. This is a fake tutor account, by the way, so just created for this webinar. So I am test tutor right now. But if I was a real tutor, I would log in here. This would be my initials, and I would use this portion right here to actually change my password in the tutor portal. So you'll want to do that. So in your profile, you can also click in the About Me to view your tutor profile. This is going to include the status of your hiring paperwork, your approved grade levels, and your subject areas. So for example, you can see that I'm approved for K-5 literacy and K-5 math. You are only supposed to be tutoring within these designated grade levels and subject areas. Again, if you need to add one, please email me and email me directly, and I will be happy to walk you through that process. So back on the home page, you are going to find several key sections. This section right here is a pretty important part. So the logs that are needing attention. This highlights that any of the logs that you've submitted to us that also require action. So something didn't look right, something didn't make sense to our team when we were reviewing your logs. And it's really important that you address these logs very promptly. And we're going to go over where to find that information. So you should have received, if you have logs that need attention, which you can see I do, you should have received an email from our enrollment coordinator, Haley, regarding these logs. So you'll want to respond to that email. Once a log is submitted, you're not able to edit that log. So after that submission happens, you'll need to reach out to the team in order to get those logs corrected. You're also going to see your upcoming tutor pay. So pay is calculated based on submitted logs, which are reviewed and approved by our team before being sent and approved by the LDOE. So you'll find a list of your enrollment students as well at the bottom. If you have any information or anything that doesn't look correct, you'll always want to contact our team for more information. So to view your students, you'll go here to the student enrollment tab or to your students tab to view the actual students that you have enrolled. So you'll see here that these are my 2 test students that I have enrolled for this webinar. And one of these students is not cleared to tutor. So you'll see here that test student 2 is not enrolled and they have not registered with the LDOE to be cleared for tutoring. So you will be able to tell which students are actually ready to start sessions based on this student enrollment status. If they are labeled not enrolled, they are not yet eligible for tutoring. Also in the student tab, you will also be able to track your student allocation. So you'll be able to view the students' total hours of tutoring and their remaining sessions. Please keep in mind that these hours apply to either small group or individual sessions, but not both. And then monitoring student allocations is critical because it ensures that you do not exceed the allocated tutoring hours that each student is allocated by the LDOE. You can also view submitted pre and post-test scores in the pre and post-test areas. You'll see here that K to 8 and 9 to 12 scores are separate, so they're different. If you do not have any 9 to 12 students, then you won't see any students populate here. You can see here that I have not submitted any pre or post-test scores, but if I were to, they would populate in this section. So to view your tutor logs, Haley is going to actually go about or talk a little bit about submitting tutor logs here in a moment. But once you actually do submit your tutor logs, you are able to view them. All of the logs that you submit, you are able to view them in the tutor portal. So once you've submitted logs, you should be able to see them all here. If any of them need attention, they will come and populate here in this gold section. So you can see here that I do have 2 logs that do need attention, meaning there's something wrong with these logs that I need to email Haley about and clarify. It's also important to mention that logs that are marked as needs attention are not submitted to the LDOE. So in order for us to be able to submit these, we need to make sure that they are correct. So we need to be able to make sure that all of the logs are corrected before we make that submission. So you can see here that I have 2 logs that need attention, and all of my logs are populating here at the bottom of the screen. So Haley's going to go over a little bit more in detail in just a moment about tutor logs specifically, but this is where you will actually view them. Another, frequent question that we get is, where is my curriculum? Where do I access my curriculum? So during onboarding, you will have completed training on the Canopy training platform. So this is also where you are going to access your materials. If you click on the curriculum button at the top, it is going to take you back to the Canopy platform, which I'm going to do a little bit later when I show you pre and post tests. But this will actually take you back to access your curriculum. You should have received an email invitation from me based on your grade levels and the curriculum trainings that you completed. You should have received an email invitation from me for all of your curriculum access. And all of this happens in the Canopy training platform. So this is the link for you to access that. It's also important to mention that you're going to want to log in as a learner, not as an instructor in the training platform, just like you did when you completed the training. And it's also important to mention that you should also make sure that you are using the same email address that you used during training. If you log in with a different account, that account may not have access to the curriculum. If you have any questions about your curriculum or you can't find your curriculum, please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help you to find that. Also, we have a frequently asked questions tab here for tutors to reference whenever they are submitting tutor logs. In addition, we also have a calendar. The calendar will display your pay dates and other key events like this webinar. And then last but certainly not least are our tutor resources that I mentioned earlier. These are the family communication flyers. We have a Spanish version as well as an English version for you to send these home with families to help them with the LDOE enrollment. So now Haley is going to discuss the action item buttons here at the top.
Thank you, Brooke. Hey, everybody. So again, I'm Haley, the enrollment coordinator. And we're going to be going through these big orange buttons at the top of our tutor portal. So firstly, we're going to look at our tutor logs. So after every session and for every student you see for a session, you are going to enter a tutor log. So if you saw one student, you would enter one log. If you had a group of 3 students, you would be entering 3 separate logs for those students for that session. Your registered students are going to have their information at the top of the screen. So we can see we have the listed numbers listed there, which is really handy for just copying and pasting when you want to go through and enter that log. You'll also be able to see your allocation information at the top of the screen. So you can really easily see which of your students have already used up their stipends and which ones are still able to continue holding sessions with you. So going through, you're going to see that there are lots of pieces of information you need to include when you are entering your tutor logs. Be your student's grade level, school. You'll notice the session delivery is one of the things we have to note, the dates and session length and lots of other pieces of information. And we'll look at those a little more closely in a second. So after we've submitted our logs, we can go to view our tutor logs. So we see at the top of the screen in the yellow block that we have some logs needing attention. If you have any logs needing attention, you will likely have already received an email from me asking you for whatever information needed to be clarified. You'll also see a cell here that says log issue. That's where I'm going to make a little note of whatever I saw that maybe was confusing or didn't look quite right. So for this first log, we see that it says missing second log. So we saw that there was a log for the 12th of October. It was marked as being a session for 2 students, but we didn't see another log for that same date matching the content area. So I'll mark it as missing second log. Whenever you have a moment, you'll enter that missing log into the tutor portal, and then I'll be able to mark them as reviewed. Some other really common log issues that you might see in this area, if you have a log needing attention, would be date. So maybe the date for one of your logs doesn't match the rest of your group. You might see mix of in-person and virtual as your log issue. So students should all be seen in the same format each session. So if you had a session of virtual students, each one of those students in that session should be virtual or in person. We're just not going to mix those formats. Another common log issue would be mixing content areas. So a session should be focused either all in literacy or all in math. You can switch session to session with your groups if you are already onboarded with us with that permission. But in a given session, we shouldn't be mixing the content areas. So we also noticed that there is a log here and that needs attention, and it says clarifying no-show. So we consider a group to be a no-show when the entire session or the entire group does not show up and you have not had 24 hours of notice. So if that happens, whether it's a one-on-one session where you didn't have 24 hours of notice for the absence, or a group of 4 students where you didn't have notice of 24 hours, in any case, if you have a no-show like this, you're going to enter a no-show log into the tutor portal for 30 minutes for one of the students that was absent. You're also going to make sure to mark them as absent when you enter that log. Be aware that people accidentally mark students as absent all the time. So anytime I see a no-show log, I'm going to clarify it with you just to make sure that it was intentional, a real no-show, and then I can mark it as reviewed. As Brooke showed us earlier, we can scroll down to see all of the logs that we've entered to date. And this is where we can see our logs and also notice their log status. You'll see that reviewed means good. There's nothing wrong with the log. Either it came in and it looked totally right, or we've already clarified anything that had to be clarified with it. So there can be a delay for log statuses updating in the portal. So just be aware that it can take up to 24 hours for any of your log statuses to change in the portal. The process of a log being from the moment that a log is entered into the portal to when the money is coming out from into your account can take a while, and it can vary in length. So Elizabeth is going to tell us a little more about that exact process right now.
Yeah, thank you, Haley. Okay, so we review the logs, and I will say the vast majority of the time, the logs look great and they are reviewed right away. If they need attention, they get clarified and then they are reviewed. Once they're reviewed, we send them to the LDOE to have the Steve Carter Tutoring Grant applied to them. And so the LDOE sends an email to the family to verify. The family gets an email, they can verify it in the parent portal. When we send that, we change the status to approved, and we update the payment status to the month in which the session took place. So you may see in your tutor portal right now, you may have some that say September pay, you may have some that say October pay. That was the month that it took place and it was approved. And then you'll see on your homepage that the pay for each month will roll up into a total. Each month you get paid for the that occurred in the previous month. So for instance, today was a pay date, and it was the pay date for all of the sessions that happened in September. And then in November, there will be a pay date for all of the sessions that happened in October, and so forth. So that is the process of how a log kind of goes through the entire system, and what the status and the payment status mean when you see them in the portal.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, no problem.
We can move on to enrolling students. So we're going to take a look at the form. And again, we're going to be entering several pieces of important information about our students, including their names, their school, their grade level, and very importantly, their listed number. So it's very important to make sure that the listed number that you enter for your students is correct. This is how we determine if a student has completed registration and is eligible for participating in the program. It's also how we track our billing. So very important to have correct lists. If you ever notice that you've entered a listed incorrectly, just shoot me an email, I'll fix it and we'll work it out straight away. Another thing that's really important is that we have good working emails for our students' families. This is for our communication purposes, and it's also for us sending out our monthly family newsletter. We want to make sure that they're getting that. Another thing that is very important when you're doing this enrollment process is the schedule for your students. It's really important for us to have accurate schedules for students. This is how we review your logs and make sure everything matches up. Do not feel like you have to email us if there's any one-off or reschedule. We know that life happens. If there's just any permanent regular changes to your sessions, just let us know and I'll make sure to change the records and make sure everything matches up to what you're doing with your students. So again, if anything in student enrollment is entered incorrectly or you see a mistake from a grade level for a student to a guardian phone number to a listed number, just shoot me an email and I'll fix it for you. And then we're going to be talking about pre and post tests. So I'll turn it over to Brooke for her to take us through that.
Thank you, Haley. We are going to talk a little bit about submitting pre and post tests. So in order to submit the pre and post test, you will click the Submit Pre and Post Test button. It's important to note that the K-8 and 9-12 pre and post tests are separate. So if you're tutoring in those different grade level bands, please make sure that you're submitting using the correct form. For now, I'm going to click the K-8 pre and post test. If you are looking for your pre and post test materials, you are going to find that in your curriculum training, which is housed back on the Canopy training platform. For your convenience, I have added a link directly to that here, so you can click. And let's pretend that I wasn't logged in. And you are going to click here as a learner. So it's important to note that you must log in as a learner. You'll sign back in using your account as a learner, and then you'll navigate to your curriculum training. So you'll see here, I was training for math K-8 curriculum training. I'm going to navigate over to the pre and post test and scroll down until I find the materials that I need. So this is where you will find the pre and post test for all of the grade levels. So for literacy K-8, math K-8 will be in the math curriculum training, literacy K-8 will be in the literacy K-8 training. The high school curriculum training has their own pre and post test materials there. So that is where you're going to find all of your pre and post test materials back on the Canopy training platform. That is also where you will have access to and utilize your curriculum. So all of those will be housed on the Canopy training platform. You can always access that link by the curriculum link at the top. All right, I think I'm passing it back to Elizabeth for question and answers.
Yeah, thank you, Brooke. Okay, so that was just like a whirlwind tour of Canopy Tutoring from beginning to where you all probably are right now. We want to do some Q&A now, find out what is on your mind that we can clarify. I am going to go ahead and open up the chat for everyone. If you all could just put your questions in the chat, Christina is going to take a look and start elevating the questions that we see, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. And anything that we don't get to, we will answer and send out via email. So let me go ahead and let's see, host tools. Sorry here. Let me add the chat back on. Okay, the chat is live. So go ahead and start, take a moment, put some questions in the chat, and we will start answering those. And tell you what, we have about 20 people on right now. So I think we could also probably open up just for folks to raise their hands as well. Okay, we've got a question here. Are students pre and post tested during each session or after a series of sessions? That is a great question. They are pre and post tested just for the duration of their tutoring relationship with you. So you would pre-test them in like the first or second session, and you would post-test them in one of the final sessions. Again, if for some reason you're unable to do it in the first session, you can do it in the second session. Same thing with the post-test. If you know you're not going to be able to do it in the final session, do it in the second to last session. But it's for the duration of the tutoring relationship rather than for a certain grouping of sessions. I'm seeing, can we still enroll students? Okay, so that is a great question. So as you know, the Steve Carter Tutoring Grant Program had a registration cap, and that is just because it has been an incredibly popular program, and a lot of students have registered. So they paused registration, and they are going to be, and they have a wait list going. So they are going to be opening up that wait list sometime in the next month or two. And we are going to share that information as soon as we get it. So if you have students who are not registered with the Steve Carter Grant Program yet, but would like to participate in it, you can tell families that they can get on the wait list. The wait list is going to be first come, first served. So the sooner you get on the wait list, the sooner they will have access to that. If students are on the wait list, you can enroll them with us. They're going to show up as not enrolled yet because they're not registered. However, we will be able to check once that wait list is opened up whether they have registered. And we will keep you posted on that process as soon as we get some more information. I know the LDOE right now is figuring out exactly when it's going to open and how many students they can, how many slots they're going to have. There also might be some additional funding that happens at different points in the year. And at that point, they'll open up the wait list. And we just want to make sure that tutors and families are ready to take advantage of this program as soon as it's available. We want to make sure as many kids as possible have access to it. So the answer is yes, you may, but they are not, they won't be registered until the wait list is opened up and they're able to get off of there. All right. I know that students are on waiting list at the moment. Does that begin again in January? Okay, so similar question. When does it begin? We're actually going to be finding out that information probably in the next couple of weeks. And so we are going to keep you posted about when that might happen. Let's see. Are there tutoring semesters? Will we be able to tutor in the spring and summer? Similar answer. We're going to be finding out how much the waitlist is going to open, and we'll be able to let you know. I will say this: the stipends for students are per student for the whole year. So if students have finished their stipend in the fall, then that's the only stipend available to them for this year. So if it does open back up, it will be for additional students in the spring and summer. And again, we will keep you posted. That is a great question. I have completed my training and was preparing to begin tutoring. I have difficulty with getting listed numbers and parents do not have that information. Okay, great. Let's see, parents are having difficulties with the registration process. All right, so ESL students, so if they are Spanish speaking, we do have our registration documents in Spanish on the tutor portal if you would like to download those. And let's see, this is our Bruce. We will follow up with you also just to get a little more information and see how else we might be able to support you with that. So actually, if you can send me and Haley an email, we can. Haley, were you going to say something?
I'll make a note of it and I'll reach out. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Haley. Great. Let's see. Okay, Angela, I see. Okay, having open house. I hope the open house is going great. Missed the answer to the enrollment question. Okay. Great. Oh, it's going wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. So just to recap the enrollment question, because I know that is something that is on everybody's mind, our mind as well. We are going to be finding out from the LDOE when the waitlist will be opening up. If you want to get students on the wait list to register for the grant program, families can go put them on the wait list through the LDOE's parent portal. And you can enroll them with us, but they aren't registered yet for the grant. And so they'll just kind of be, they would be on the waiting list. So they're just waiting to find out when they would have access to that grant and would be able to get started. So again,
and it's also,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, if I can just jump in for a second. It's also possible if a family has completed registration prior to that deadline, and we're able to get their listed and see that they have been registered, then we can absolutely enroll them and get them tutoring. So if you have any families that mention something like that, I already registered them, but I didn't have a tutor, I didn't know that you were doing tutoring, then definitely enter them into enrollment or reach out to me and we can move from there.
Great, thank you. Okay, and then I'm seeing Bethany's asking, is it okay to tutor a student on a different day of the week than originally checked off? absolutely let us know about the change and we can edit that in the schedule so that we're aware of it as well. All right, any other questions? Free to drop them in the chat. All right, well, we are going to stick around and like, if you think of something, oh, we got another question. Okay, great. Can we tutor a different set of kids on different days? Yes, absolutely. You can design your schedule the way that you would like to. We usually recommend that students receive at least 2 sessions per week. That tends to be more effective. But yes, you can have more than one group and they can be seen at different times in the week.
Uh-oh, I think she might have frozen. But yes, what she was saying is that you can see them at different times of the week. The LDOE does require that students are not seen in groups larger than 4,
Cute.
though. Again,
Go ahead, Brooke, were you saying something?
I was just following up with what when you froze. You froze.
Oh,
for
I froze. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I also saw Miss Nix. I saw your hands go up before. Did you want to ask a question?
Okay, let me make sure that folks can bring themselves off of mute.
Okay.
I don't have a question, but so this does include math, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying because I'm just coming in. I just left from work, so I slid in so I could catch what I could possibly catch. So how many students would I need to have registered for whenever the cap comes off?
So there's not a minimum number of students. If you have one student that you'd like to tutor, the pay rates do vary based on group sizes, but there isn't you don't have to have a particular number of students in order to get started. If you have 1 to 4 groups of students, you can create a group, and those groups of students you can meet with after school in order to tutor them. And it is for math and literacy tutoring for grades K to 12.
And Ms. Nix, we're going to send out the recording of this as well. So you'll be able to, and the slide deck. So you'll be able to catch up on anything from the beginning of the session as well.
Okay, looks like we have another question in the chat. It says, I'm a math teacher. Do I follow the curriculum and help them with the homework? And I can tutor English too.
Great question. So with the math curriculum, the math curriculum is aligned to Eureka Math. And so if you can jump around in it, depending on what students need. So if you've given them the pretest and you're like, okay, these are areas that they really need to focus on, that is one way to do it. If their families are saying like, we really want some homework help because that's the practice from what they were doing in class, you can focus on what the homework topic is. The great thing about the curriculum is that if you look at the homework topic and you want to either reteach a concept or you want to have additional practice, you can go find that subject area within the curriculum in Canopy and pull that up. So there'll be a slide deck, there'll be some activities, so you can supplement that for math. And then for English, you just have to be approved for it. So if you want to reach out to Brooke and y'all can take a look and see if you have, if you're approved for that as well. All right, any other questions? You can either, you can come off mute if you have a question. You can raise your hand with the little raise hand function. You can put it in the chat, whatever works for you.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, our curriculum, we do work off the Eureka Math Square curriculum. and I'm a second grade math teacher. So like with some of my students that I teach, some of them don't receive any tutoring, but they need that extra help. Is it possible that I could tutor those students, or I have to get other students?
So students have to be registered with the LDOE in order to receive the Steve Carter grant funding that funds the program. So in order to be tutored through this program, they will have to be registered with the LDOE. Unfortunately, they have paused the registration because of the huge outpouring of interest in the program. So we are waiting to find out when that wait list will open back up. If you have students who you think could benefit from it, we encourage you to have their families go register for the wait list, because the wait list is going to be a first come, first served system. And students may be able to come off of it at different points during the school year.
And also one of the requirements of the program is that teachers unfortunately can't tutor their own students for a subject where they're the teacher of record. So you'd have to find students that you are not teaching for math, for example, to tutor in math, or not teaching for literacy to tutor them in literacy.
Okay, I
Thank
see.
you.
I see some folks are having trouble coming off mute, so I just fixed that. So you should be able to come off mute now.
Okay, so just for clarification, so for the math, our school doesn't use the Eureka curriculum. So is it okay that I do help them with things that's more specific to what they're doing in class versus the Eureka, or is that not?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
One of the reasons that we hire current educators is because we know that you have the expertise necessary to determine what students need most. And so if there's something that they're working on that you want to focus on, that is totally fine. We just want to make sure we've also provided additional resources in case you need some additional practice, additional, direct instruction resources. It's there for you. But yes, you can definitely use the resources that go with the curriculum.
Okay, thank you. And another question, I heard part of it earlier. I don't think I caught the whole thing. Someone asked if we're currently tutoring them now for the fall, they won't necessarily be able to be tutored in the spring. Is that what that said?
So they only have one stipend. So once they have used all of the funding within their stipend, then that'll be the maximum tutoring that they can receive for the year. However, if you're doing small group, that is, I think it's like 36 or 37 hours of tutoring. So you could split that between fall and spring. So yes, I guess what I'm trying to say is when they have completed their stipends, then that is how much that student can receive of tutoring for the year.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Everyone should be able to come off mute now if you have a question. All right, well, we are going to stick around for a few minutes. So if anyone still has something lingering that you'd like us to answer, we will be here. But we want to thank everybody for coming out to the webinar. We hope it was helpful. We are going to send out the recording, and we will also send out the slide deck and the FAQ document. So you'll be able to see all of that. And let us know if you have any questions. We are always available to answer questions, correct things in the tutor portal for you. Yeah, and we just appreciate everything you do with students. We know that they are benefiting from receiving this tutoring. We're so glad that we're able to participate in the Steve Carter Tutoring Grant Program that provides that funding for students. So yeah, thanks everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week and a good weekend. And yeah, the staff will stick around for a few minutes for any lingering questions.
Right. I don't know if it's just a question, but I think I started and I was doing really good, and I had some students. I have some students that very inconsistent. Do I notify you to get them off the roll, or well, I don't know what to do.
That is a great question. Haley, should we connect with you? Is that the best and figure out a plan of action?
Yeah, absolutely. That was Miss Marva Bolden just said that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I will reach out to you and we can kind of discuss that just specific sort of situation, whatever's going on, and we can kind of work out a plan together.
Yeah. And I know another person had asked a question about the high school. So my high school students, I didn't even stress to enroll them when I enrolled the other students because the curriculum wasn't available. So I didn't know. And then we had the cap. So, okay. So I know I have a few on the waiting list. And my other concern, the reason I'm the one who asked about the English is because when I get emails from parents, that's what they're asking. And I'm glad you answered about the curriculum, because I was kind of hesitant to do the 7th and 8th graders because I'm high school, but I think I can do it now. So I just wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing, teaching the right thing. So,
Miss Bolden, are your parents having trouble getting the LSIDs from their students' schools?
Oh, so from what I have experienced, what he said, the ESL students are having problems, and that's just because of the communication. Elementary and middle school, their numbers don't come on their day campus or their report card. The high school students, they can get theirs, but it's just, so you would have to have. I'm just gonna say my suggestion is a guidance counselor to get involved in getting those. Putting that number on those students' paper, on that application paper, to give to the parents. But that's what I have ran into, is that the elementary and the middle, it's hard for them to get that number.
Okay. So they should be
that's
able.
Good to know.
Yeah, they should be able to call the school. I know that
Right, I know.
with the language barrier, but the parents should be able to request that from the school.
The guidance counselor, right? So I think that's the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And, as the wait list starts to open up, maybe we can strategize around how to support folks with that. So thank you for telling us about that.
Okay. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
You too.
Miss Bolden.